welcome to the show. So, the title of today's show is What Are You Consuming? That's the title. What are you consuming? You know, when we talk about consumption, the first thing that usually comes to people's mind is eating, food or drink. That's what we think of when we hear the word consumption. But it goes deeper than that. So, in this segment, I'm going to talk about consumption and I'm going to talk about how what you consume affects you. You know, like I said, when people think about consumption, what they think about is food, right? And the only time people pay attention to the food that they eat is usually when they are trying to lose some weight. When they are trying to lose some weight, they feel, oh, I need to take this food out of my diet. I need to take this out. I need to have this in my diet. If I do it long enough and if I maintain a certain amount of discipline, I should lose these 10 pounds or 20 pounds, I should shed this weight, That's when people pay attention to consumption. But, it goes deeper than that. When I'm talking about consumption, I'm talking about food, but I'm also talking about other things that we consume, like movies, like music, like the books that we read, like the news that we listen to, the music we listen to. So that's all these things part of consumption, everything, anything and everything that we take in, is part of consumption. And a lot of us don't pay attention to how these things that we consume affect us. We don't pay attention to it because we assume that when we listen to music, oh, we're just trying to have some fun. Oh, it doesn't affect me. It's just, it doesn't affect me. That's what people think. But everything you are surrounded by affects you. I know some people want to argue with that, but everything you are surrounded by affects you. And it is very, very important for you to pay very close attention to what you consume. Because if you don't, you will be acting in ways that may even surprise you. You will be acting in ways that may shock you. You may be experiencing things that you don't know the origin of it. Or you may be acting in ways that you think, oh, this is who I am and this is what I believe in. But in actuality, it's not who you are. It's just the fact that you have been programmed to be this way. You have like a good example, like you have heard so much about this, so you have become this certain way. A good example is when you watch a lot of movies now in Nigeria, a lot of African movies, they tend to portray the African man as a bad person. The woman is either helpless, you understand what I'm saying? She's either helpless or she needs, or she's a good person who becomes a victim of the African man who's insane, who's crazy, who's a monster. That's what usually the narrative of African movies now I see is. And if you internalize that perspective that okay, African men are dogs, African men are wicked, African men are violent, then you go through your life only confirming and subscribing to messages that support that ideology you have about black men. You'll be reading news. The news you read will be about it. Even if you read the good news of a black man saved or African man saved a baby that was about to drown, you'll be like, oh, this is an exception. But when you see the negative news of what a black man did, you're like, oh man, this man, they're just wicked. This is just an example, of how what you consume can affect how you view life or the stance you take on issues, and you don't even know that it's just what you consume. Another aspect again is when you listen to music. A lot of us listen to Whiskey, Davido, Burna Boy, all those guys. I love them. So, and when we listen to them, it's all fun. Oh, we're just having fun. I'm trying to vibe to the latest Burna Boy. Man, Burna Boy is this, Davido is that. I'm just vibing. I'm trying to enjoy myself. I'm trying to relax. I just like listening to him. But the question you have to ask yourself is, how is Burna Boy, what is the music you're listening to, how is it affecting you in your everyday life? You have to understand that music too is part of programming, and you need to listen to the lyrics, what some of these artists say in their songs. Like, what message are they conveying? Because on the general Majority of them just talk about drug use, women they sleep with, the jewelry they bought, jewelry or car they bought, the girl that they are dating, or whoever they are having beef with. That's what they usually talk about in the music you listen to, whether it's Nigeria, abroad, they talk about. Okay, now how does that affect you? Now, how this affects you in a certain way, it can affect you in the way that since this is what you listen to of how much ice they buy or the cars they buy, you may go through your personal life feeling that the only way you'll be happy is if you buy an expensive car, expensive phone. If you buy something, if you buy something expensive, you feel that you are living up to your dream or you are doing good. You know what I'm saying? Again, they talk about women, they bag, and all that stuff. Then in your life, you may live a life